going to take my shoes off, get comfortable up here. Who here's seen spoken word before? Show of hands. Lots of you. Good. So I think I was mostly asked here today because of a poem I did, a video poem that was called Food for the Future, and it was basically promoting a rally to save the agricultural land reserve, and it's about food security. And on Vancouver Island, which is where I live, there's only 3 days worth of food. So you can imagine if there was a disaster, what that would look like, and that's what this poem's about. 3 days, 9 meals each, if we're lucky. 3 days, till stocked shelves reveal themselves as barren, until we all understand that resource scarcity is a cause of lack of security. And when it comes to food, we can't wait until disaster shocks us into action, until the ferries stop running and disaster shocks us into action. Everyone is a food activist when they are hungry. But questions come slow to the belly full. We have outgrown this model. So it's time to overgrow these cities with rooftop gardens sprouting hope, giving breath to the streets, making locally grown more than the catchphrase of the week. He saw a kale plant growing in the crack of the concrete sidewalk, and he kept walking. She saw an urban plum tree mark the season with the juiciest fruit, and she kept walking. Awareness is our first step in our march toward food justice. Luckily, consciousness is being cultivated in the hearts of our new urban farmers, of our food not lawns gardeners as they return to the earth and relearn the worth of harvesting food with their own hands, our own hands. But our big box food suffers from nature deficit disorder. So from forks to pitchforks, can you trace the source of your sustenance? Every bite counts. And when it comes to food security, it's about more than full bellies. It is the difference between medicine and healing. So we must stand up for the land and the farmers that feed us, for the environment that needs us, to put our love of soil ahead of our addiction to oils so we can push roots into the earth and stand up. Whoa, I'm getting too into it. So we must push roots into the earth and stand up for the land and the farmers that feed us, for the environment that needs us, to put our love of soil ahead of our addiction to oil so we can stand up, be strong, and live truly sustainably. Everyone is a food activist when they are hungry. And we, the people, are hungry for change. All right. So I'm going to do, shake that one out. All right, so I'm going to do 2 more poems for you. This one, you all work really hard making a better planet, more sustainable cities, and more sustainable place for us to live now and in the future. And that's hard work, and so we also need dancing. And this poem's about dancing, and specifically it's about dancing as a tool of love. When I dance, when I really dance, I think of those that I love, sketch them into the moment. My movements become fuller, more fluid. A looseness flocks to my arms. A murmuration of starlings bursts in my chest. The rest is space, and that is where I feel you. You fill the breath around me with wine. I blow bubbles and laugh at time. I dance so full that I can feel outward expansion on my skin. My muscles tense and release. There is a science to this, and I'm not thinking of it. I'm not thinking about anything except for the people that I love the most, scattered in their own dances around the world. Family, friends, memories come flooding into focus, and then I think of you. And it's the first time your image has come to me through my movements. And this is my prayer. I know this, yet I'm not used to new feelings or faces in these moments. And everything evolves, especially love. And you make it new again. like some dissonant cacophony of drums finally coming into the same rhythm. How everyone can feel that it is right. A baby begins smiling. The old man no longer needs the wall to hold him up, for he is dancing. There was laughter from the eldest drummer. He knows this feeling. He has been waiting. It's too much for the woman in the front. She begins spinning in circles and letting out an ecstatic call, unfamiliar to the stoic culture of the crowd. This raises the energy more. The room is pulsing. My hips have loosened. My feet rarely touch the ground. I am the bass drum. You are the beat drop. Your image has left my mind because now you're dancing inside of me. A phase is whirling in my blood. The starlings come down, lift me to the sky, and I have felt love in the form of water. She has cleansed me. The moon comes down to kiss me. Shocked, I stumble backwards, raise my arms up to the sky like, give it to me, moon. Give it to me, moon. I land. Refind myself within the music. When I dance, when I really dance, I think of those that I love, and today I thought of you. All right. So, thank you very much for having me here as part of this amazing evening, such an auspicious occasion to celebrate. This poem is I run a youth outreach program through spoken word poetry, engaging and empowering youth to speak their truth. And it's put on the high school poetry slam championships in Victoria, which is called Victoria's Voices. And so this poem is about that, and it's about some of the stories that they've very courageously told on that stage. And I wanted to share it with you tonight because the young people really are the future, and if we can get them to be speaking up and doing the good work that you're all doing, then we'll be in a good place. This is for Simon, who picks up a spray can instead of a knife, who writes his assumed name across bus stops and billboards just to remind himself that he's still alive, still here, so he can stare silence in the eye every time someone walks by and doesn't realize that he's barely holding on, that us humans are created so fragile, so tactile, so pure. Like how the right touch can leave you high, or the wrong one can bruise you so deeply. This is for Sarah, who calls out her teachers, her parents, her government, who feels so much like life is all electric fingernails, and each day is another chalkboard trigger. She's developed a keen sense of justice too early for the comfort of those trying to raise her. Thankfully, she's already rising, despite a generation of pressure, a government that sometimes views her education as a tool of oppression, of second-guessing herself into the corner. This is for the quiet kid. The one in the back of the class that you never heard speak until he came to poetry club and did a poem about how he was abused as a child. How everything shifted as soon as he said it. The whole room fell silent. But not the suffocating kind of silence he was used to. No, he felt power in his voice for the first time. Like Simon, writing his name over and over again across the city just so he doesn't disappear completely. Like Sarah, calling out her 16-year-old classmate for the sexist joke that he learned from his father. Like the story told that you forget, except for the feeling it left. Like you no longer need to run away from yourself just to survive. And these are the stories of a generation coming alive. And so this is for any of you who share your stories. For any of you who don't know yet that your stories need to be heard. Because these stories, these voices, they rise from the silence in defiance of the din of apathy, out of the dens of video games and reality TV. They are real, raw, and glorious. And yes, they are our voices, and they will be victorious. Thank you very much. Have a good night.